Welcome to the 16th online lecture of the course Engineering Thermodynamics. In the previous lecture, we have established the effect of boiler and condenser temperatures and pressure on the efficiency of the Rankine cycle, and we also established the effect of superheat on the efficiency of the Rankine cycle. And ultimately we found that the increase of boiler pressure and temperature or decrease of condenser pressure and temperature leads to increase in efficiency of the Rankine cycle. However, by doing both these things or any of the above these two things, what basically happens, the quality of the steam at the exit of the turbine decreases, which is in particular detrimental for the operations of the turbine. It leads to decrease in its efficiency, and at the same point of time it is also not good for the surface characteristics of the turbine blades. Okay, so in order to overcome this limitation, what we want to do now we are attempting towards achieving the higher efficiency. It means if we are attempting towards achieving the higher efficiency, it means we have to add the heat at high boiler pressures. Okay, but if we add the heat at high boiler efficiency at high boiler pressures, as this will lead to decrease in the quality of the steam at the exit of the turbine. That's why we have to employ certain ways with the help of which we can improve the quality at the exit of the turbine. So the operation of the turbine should also not affect, and at the same point of time efficiency of the overall cycle should also increase. Okay, so this particular task is achieved with the help of a device, with the help of one additional arrangement of the Rankine cycle, which is particularly known as a reheat Rankine cycle. Okay, so what is done in reheat Rankine cycle I have shown over here. So in an actual Rankine cycle, what we are having a boiler, and from that boiler we are getting superheated steam, which I have shown or represented over here with the help of state number 3, and then this steam is actually expanded on a turbine. Okay, so the expansion process inside the turbine is happening from point number 3 to point number 4. And in our original Rankine cycle, what actually we were doing this expansion process inside the turbine till the pressure of the condenser. So ultimately we were bringing this steam which is at the exit of the turbine, directly we were passing this stream to our condenser from this point to this point, and then condenser was bringing it to saturated liquid state, and then pump was once again completing the cycle by bringing this saturated liquid to the boiler pressure. Okay, but what we will be doing in case of reheat cycle, whatever the turbine we are having over here, where steam is actually entering at the highest pressure of the cycle, we will not extend this steam over here till our condenser pressure. Rather, what is done over here, we have expanded this steam till some intermediate pressure. So now this point number 4 over here is nothing but corresponding to some pressure state, which is nothing but a PI pressure. Okay, and this PI pressure is nothing but greater in comparison to our condenser pressure PC. Okay, so what we have done over here, that we have used some high pressure turbine, and inside this high pressure turbine, when the expansion process is done, it is actually stopped at some intermediate pressure PI, and after that whatever the steam or say some part of the liquid also it can have. So means we can have wet steam over here. Now that steam is actually once again entered inside the boiler. Okay, and while it has entered inside the boiler, obviously what will be happening, boiler will be providing certain amount of heat to this steam, and this steam is taken out of the boiler, say at point number 5, which is nothing but in some superheated state. However, this state number 5 is corresponding to now intermediate pressure Pi, because when we have taken this steam at point number 4, in the process 4 to 5, we are only having the heat addition and we are not having any mechanical device attached over here which will be changing the pressure of the steam. So that's why pressure has remained same. However, heating has been done inside the boiler. And now whatever the superheated steam we have got at point number 5, this superheated steam is then passed through one more turbine, and this turbine is particularly known as a low pressure turbine. Okay, why we will be calling it as low pressure turbine? Because now we are passing the steam at pressure Pi, which is low in comparison to boiler pressure. Okay, whatever was at point number 3. So that's why this above turbine in which the process number 3 to 4 is happening, this is known as high pressure turbine, and whatever the turbine we are having during the expansion process number 5 to 6, this turbine is something which is known as a low pressure turbine. Okay, and after the low pressure turbine, whatever the expansion we will be doing, that we will be doing till our condenser pressure. Okay, and after that the cycle will be continuing in a similar fashion. In the condenser it will be coming back to saturated liquid state, and then it will be pumped back to the boiler pressure and will be sent inside a boiler. Okay, so whatever this schematic representation I have shown over here, for the case of a reheat Rankine cycle, if I plot the same on a TS plot, it will look something like this. Okay, so let us once again start from state number 3 over this schematic. So let us first consider that this highest pressure line, whatever I am having over here, say this is corresponding to boiler pressure PB. Okay, and say at the exit of the boiler we are having state of the steam as superheated, and it is having corresponding temperature and entropy values as plotted over here by point number 3 on TS diagram. Okay, now what is happening, this 3 to 4 expansion process is happening inside the high pressure turbine. So from 3 point expansion has taken place, and this expansion has taken place till point number 4, and whatever this expansion we have done, that we have limited to certain intermediate value of the pressure. So this value of intermediate pressure is Pi, which is greater in comparison to condenser pressure. So this is our point number 4. And now what we did, whatever the steam we have at point number 4, same steam we have passed through the boiler. So what will be happening? If we are passing this steam through the boiler, it will be once again receiving certain amount of heat, and because of that, if it is in the wet state, first it will be reaching to dry stage, and then after that it will be superheated. Now I have superheated this one till point number 5 over here. So this is my 5 number stage, and after this point number 5, once again we have passed it through a low pressure turbine, and inside this the expansion process has happened from state number 5 to state number 6, and after that we are having the process 6 to 1 inside the condenser and 1 to 2 processes inside our pump. Okay, so this is the representation of reheat Rankine cycle on a TS diagram. Okay, so now what will be happening? If you try to see, our heating process is happening from point number 2 to point number 3. So over here heat is being added, and then heat rejection process is happening from point number 6 to point number 1. Say QE is the amount of heat rejected. Now we will be having two turbine works. So first turbine work will be done inside the process number 3 to 4 as WT1, and then second certain amount of work we will be getting in the second expansion stage of the turbine as WT2. Okay, and over here what we will be having, here we have to do certain amount of pump work which is represented by WP, and once again from process number 4 to 5 also what we are doing, we are adding certain amount of heat which is nothing but equal to Q, say R, which is representing the amount of heat added during the reheat process. Okay, so now if you see what is happening, basically in case of a reheat cycle, if in our actual cycle what was the heating process? Heating process was from state number 2 to state number 3. So over here we will be having certain value of the mean temperature of heat addition, and in our reheat cycle what we are doing, along with heating from point number 2 to point number 3, we are also heating certain amount of steam from point number 4 to point number 5. So that's why what will be happening, overall heating process will be nothing but combination of process number 2 to 3 and process number 4 to 5. So now we will be having some effective mean temperature of heat addition which will be resulting from the combination of heat addition in 2 to 3 and heat addition in 4 to 5. Now over here in this particular cycle, if you see, the heat addition in process 4 to 5 is actually at relatively lower temperatures in comparison to the heat addition temperatures during the process number 2 to 3. So that's why in case of a reheat cycle, if our temperature, mean temperature of heat addition during the second stage of reheating is, if it is more in comparison to the temperature of mean temperature of heat addition during this first process, then obviously what will be happening, efficiency will be increasing, and if it is remaining identical then there will not be any change in efficiency. However, now because after incorporating the reheat cycle, what has happened earlier, if you see, if this expansion would have continued till the condenser pressure, we could have received our expansion point somewhere over here as point number 4 dash. So in that case we could have got more amount of liquid. However, after incorporating the reheating, what has happened, our overall, if we see, our quality at the exit of the turbine has actually improved. Now though overall we have done the heat addition at the high pressure, that's why our efficiency overall there will be increase in efficiency. However, if we compare to our highest temperature cycle, it means the mean temperature of heat addition during process number 2 to 3, by that we will be finding that the mean temperature of heat addition during process 4 to 5 is less in comparison to mean temperature of heat addition during process 2 to 3. That's why what will be happening, overall if we consider the efficiency in relation to the heat addition at high pressure, then there will be slight fall in efficiency. Okay, so this slight fall in efficiency, whatever I have shown over here, this can be improved by doing the reheating in some ideal fashion as I will be representing on this TS diagram. So let us consider that in this TS diagram, this is our cycle, say this is our boiler pressure. Now if I do certain reheating over here, and if I not extend it to very low pressures, and once again if I do one more stage of reheating, then once again if I expand, then once again if I do one more stage of reheating, during that process what will be happening? Now if you see, if we consider the multiple stages of reheating, what is basically happening in multiple stages of reheating, particularly in this zone, if you see, this was the first reheating stage, this was the second reheating stage. So the reheat temperature over here is actually more in comparison to the temperature inside your liquid vapor dome. So ultimately what it will be doing, it will try to increase the mean temperature of heat addition during the overall process. Okay, so if we do this type of multiple reheatings where the expansion inside the turbine is not done till very low pressures, rather it is controlled close to the boiler pressures, and instead of doing a single reheat, if we do the multiple reheats close to the highest temperatures of the cycle, during that time what will be happening? Reheating will result in increase in efficiency or the higher efficiency. However, if we consider from the practical point of view, what will be happening in these large number of reheat stages, we will be having large number of turbines. Okay, large number of turbines. At the same point of time, we will be having large number of piping arrangements in order to allow the steam once again to go to the boiler and then come back from the boiler to the next stage turbine. So pipings will also increase. So ultimately what will be happening, whatever the gain we will be getting in terms of efficiency, that gain will not be justified with the increase in cost of the mechanical component. So that's why this type of reheating is actually mainly avoided. Rather, instead of using the multiple reheating stage, we go either for single or at max 2 reheating stages. Okay, so this point is clear related to the efficiency. Then let us now once again go back to our earlier slide, and as I told you in our earlier slide that now if we have to analyze our reheat cycle, what will be happening? Our net work now will be becoming nothing but mass flow rate of steam into H3 minus H4 plus mass flow rate of steam into H5 minus H6 minus of mass flow rate of steam into H2 minus H1. So this will be our now new network, because what will be happening, we are having work first in the high pressure stage of the turbine, and then we are having certain amount of work in the low pressure stage of the turbine, which is nothing but m dot into H5 minus H6, and then we are having pump work as m dot into H2 minus H1. Similarly, if we try to find out the amount of total heat, that will be nothing but heat supplied is Qi. So Qi is the heat addition during the high pressure, that is nothing but m dot into H3 minus H2 plus heat addition during the reheating process. So during the reheating process, it will be nothing but m dot into H5 minus H4. Okay, and once we have found out the heat addition, means heat supplied, and the net amount of work done, we can determine the efficiency. Okay, so what advantage we have got? we have got the advantage with reheat cycle that our quality at the exit of the turbine has actually improved by using multiple expansion stages instead of using a single expansion stage and adding the heat at high pressure, which could have resulted the exit at point number 4 days with significant amount of liquid. Okay. Now let us try to see a few more concepts related to the reheat cycle. So another important point with reference to reheat cycle is that whatever the highest temperature we have done achieved during the first stage, when we are doing reheating, we can go maximum up to that temperature. Why? Because this temperature is actually particularly limited by this temperature over here is nothing but particularly limited by the metallurgical limits of the materials which we have used to fabricate our boiler and condenser. Okay, so this over here is nothing but our condenser. Then we are having pump from process 1 to 2. Now one more point I would like to highlight over here, that in an ideal reheat cycle, whatever this intermediate pressure I have taken over here, Pi, it is taken as 0.25 times of the pressure of the boiler. Okay, so this you can remember, this is a question which is asked many times, that if we are having ideal reheat cycle, in case of ideal reheat cycle, if the value of the intermediate pressure is not given, in that case we have to consider intermediate pressure as 0.25 times the boiler pressure. Okay, and one more point you have to remember, that when you will be solving the numerical problems, majority of the times you will find that the value of temperature, maximum value of temperature after the second stage of reheating, this I am talking about temperature number 5. Okay, this is the maximum temperature after the reheating stage. So value of this temperature you will be finding that majority of the time it is given in the numerical problems. If it is not given, then ultimately we have to take this value till the maximum temperature which is possible inside the cycle. Okay, so these are the characteristics of ideal reheat cycle. Okay, now after this reheat, there is one more configuration of the Rankine cycle, which is particularly known as regenerative Rankine cycle. Okay, so let us try to see that why regeneration is employed in case of Rankine cycle. Okay, so over here what we will be doing, first of all we will establish the theoretical or ideal regenerative Rankine cycle, and with the help of that we will try to understand the concept that how regeneration is effective in increasing the efficiency of the Rankine cycle, and then we will try to see the limitations of ideal regenerative cycle, and then we will try to see the practical cycles which are employed in industrial applications. Okay, so first let us try to see the ideal regenerative cycle. So what we will be doing in case of an ideal regenerative cycle, let us consider this is our boiler. So after the boiler what we will be having, this is say steam at state number 3, then we will be having the expansion of the steam in our turbine. Say this steam has expanded from state number 3 to state number 4, then we will be having nothing but our condenser over here, and then we will be having after condenser as our pump. Now what is done in case of so what is particularly done in case of a regenerative, ideal regenerative Rankine cycle, once we are getting steam out of the saturated liquid out of the pump, this is first passed through the casing of the turbine. Okay, so this is nothing but our turbine. So what we are doing over here, instead of passing this saturated liquid or feed water directly to the boiler, what we are doing, we are first passing this feed water through the casing of the turbine. Okay, so what will be particularly happening over here, if it has entered at saturated liquid state inside the casing of the turbine, as its temperature is low in comparison to the temperature of the vapor which is expanding inside the turbine. So that's why what will be happening inside the casing of the turbine, whatever the water we are passing, it will be gaining certain amount of heat and its temperature will be actually rising. So if it is entering at saturated liquid state after the pump, say point number 1, it will be going to some another state, say point number 2, and then from this point number 2, whatever the heated liquid we are having, that we will be passing through the boiler. Okay, so if I have to plot this process on TS diagram, how it will be looking, let us try to see. So what we are having, first let us plot a Rankine cycle, normal Rankine cycle. And what I will do now, when I will be plotting the normal Rankine cycle, first I will limit myself till the saturation vapor state only. Okay, so let us consider that this is our actual Rankine cycle, 1, 2, this point will be 3, and say this is point number 4. Okay, now what we have done in this schematic which I have shown in the last slide, in this schematic what we have done, when the expansion is happening inside the turbine during the process 3 to 4, actually what we have done, whatever the saturated liquid was coming out of the pump, that saturated liquid we have passed through the casing of the turbine. So now if you see, the temperature within the within the turbine will always be greater in comparison to the temperature at point number 1. Okay, so because of that, what will be happening particularly inside the turbine, say when the isentropic process was happening, during that isentropic process or during the reversible adiabatic process, if we were getting point number 4, now what has happened, actually certain amount of heat has been taken by this stream which is passed through the casing of the turbine. So that's why within the turbine certain amount of energy has gone out of the working fluid. Okay, so because of that, what will be happening, if you try to see over here, the expansion process, whatever earlier was happening till point number 3 to 4, now this expansion process will be something like this. Okay, so this will be the new expansion process now inside the turbine. So over here, let me write this point as nothing but point number 4 dash, when we are passing certain amount of stream through our turbine. Okay, so because of that, what will be happening now? Because of that, what will be happening now? We have got this point number 4 dash over here. Okay, so this point 4 dash, why we have got some less entropy at the exit? Because in case of an reversible adiabatic process, there was no heat transfer during the process number 3 to 4. However, now in our cycle what is happening, certain amount of heat is actually removed. If certain amount of heat is removed, what it will be doing, it will be decreasing the entropy of the working medium. So that's why the expansion process now in our cycle with ideal regeneration will be taking the shape something like this, as I have shown in this process 3 to 4 days. Okay, and as I have told you that, okay, so this is now our actual expansion. Now let us consider that, say this is our point number 2 days. Okay, so if you try to see over here, you will be finding that whatever this area we are having over here inside this zone, okay, this area is almost identical to the area whatever we are having over here. Okay, so if you see now this process 3 to 4 days, okay, now what we are having, the process number 3 to 4 days is almost identical to that of the process 1 to 2 days. Means if you compare the slopes of both these lines, this line over here and this line over here, so these slopes are now almost equal. So because of that, what will be happening, whatever the area we have got over here, so we have got this much reduction in area, this area is almost equal to the area over here. Okay, so it means that whatever the amount of heat, because area under the TS diagram is nothing but equal to heat, so because of that, whatever the amount of heat we have actually removed over here, this amount of heat has been nothing but utilized in heating this much portion of the stream. Okay, so that's why what I can do over here, I can call this process as nothing but process number 2, point number 2 dash. So it means whatever the amount of heat this vapor has given, has actually resulted in a decrease, that same amount of heat has been gained by this liquid over here. So because of that, what has happened, instead of having point number 2 at the inlet of the boiler, now we are having point number 2 dash inside our boiler. Okay, so if you try to see what actually has happened, earlier what was happening, 2 to 3 was your process inside the boiler. Okay, and now what has happened, after incorporating the ideal regeneration, we have now 2 dash to 3 as the process which is happening inside our boiler. So that's why if you compare the mean temperature of heat addition for process 2 dash to 3, that is more in comparison to the mean temperature of heat addition during the process number 2 to 3. So that's why in case of ideal regeneration, always there will be increase in efficiency of the cycle. And moreover, if you see what has happened, whatever this amount of heat we have got over here, same amount of heat is over here. So because of that, what will be happening, what I can do now, if I compare this process 3 to 4, if I make it identical to that of the process number 3 to 4, because same is happening, this process number 1 to 2 dash is being replaced by the process number, means it is parallel to the process number 3 to 4 days. Okay, so now actually what is happening, this portion of the cycle is actually avoided. So if this portion of the cycle is avoided, so whatever the loss we have got over here in terms of the work, this same amount of work can be compensated over here in terms of the addition in this cycle. Okay, so what I can do, ultimately I can say that my cycle is actually becoming identical to that of a Carnot cycle, whatever I am drawing with the help of dotted lines. Okay, so what will be happening in case of ideal regeneration, we will be finding that efficiency of the cycle will be becoming approachable to that of the Carnot efficiency. Okay. However, this type of ideal regeneration cycle is having certain challenges when it is employed at the practical scenarios. Okay, what are the challenges? The first challenge is that when we are passing this through the casing of the turbine, it is very difficult to control the amount or rate of heat transfer. So that's why we will not be able to easily control that what is the stage at point number 2, and moreover the process inside the turbine will be affected. So that's why controlling the quality at the exit of the turbine will be becoming difficult, because if you see over here, in an isentropic process we are getting point number 4. However, if we include the heat addition process inside the turbine, we are getting new stage as point number 4 days. So point number 4 days is nothing but representing the low quality in comparison to the quality obtained in case of isentropic process. So that's why what we will be doing in the practical scenarios, if we have to employ this cycle, we will be deviating from the ideal regeneration cycle. The ideal regeneration cycle is only having one advantage, that its efficiency is becoming identical to that of a Carnot cycle. However, it is having practical limitations from the operations point of view of the turbine. So that's why in practical situations, what we will be doing, we will be going for the FWH arrangement. So FWH is nothing but it is known as a feed water heater. So in practical scenarios, feed water heaters are basically employed. Okay, and these feed water heaters are also known as the regenerators. Now we are having two types of feed water heaters in practical scenarios. One is known as open feed water heater and another one is known as a closed feed water heater. So let us now try to see one by one that what are the practical applications of open and closed feed water heater. So let us first take the case of a open FWH. So it means this is nothing but a Rankine cycle with an open feed water heater. So what will be happening in case of an open feed water heater? We will be having boiler. After the boiler, we will be having, say at the exit of the boiler, we are having state number 3. Then after that, what we will be having? We will be having a turbine where expansion will be happening inside the turbine. Now what we will be doing, say after the expansion, we are getting certain stage as stage number 4 at the outlet of the turbine. Now what we will be doing, we will be extracting certain amount of steam at some intermediate pressure from the turbine. So let us consider that corresponding to this point over here, we are having thermodynamic state as state number 5. And what we have done, let us consider that Y is the fraction of the steam which we have taken out of the turbine at this intermediate pressure 5. Okay. So now this point number 4 was representing nothing but our condenser pressure. So after that, whatever the amount we are having, so if we have taken Y fraction over here, so what will be happening? 1 minus Y fraction will be remaining inside the turbine till its exit point. Okay. So after that, what we have done, we have used a condenser. Then after the condenser, we will be getting steam. We will be getting what? Saturated liquid, say at state number 6. And after that, what we have done, we have taken a feed water heater. And what we did basically inside feed water heater, whatever this stage 6 was there, that we have pumped inside the feed water heater. So say its thermodynamic state is state number 7, and then whatever the amount of steam we have extracted at the intermediate pressure from the turbine, that amount also we have added inside this feed water heater, and then we allowed both these streams to exchange the mass and energy with themselves, and then whatever the final stage we are getting at the exit, say this is nothing but state number 1, that basically then we have pumped back once again to the boiler pressure. Okay, so over here this was at nothing but boiler pressure. This thermodynamic state at point number 5 was nothing but corresponding to some intermediate pressure Pi, and then this stage at the exit of turbine was nothing but corresponding to condenser pressure Pc. Then this was also at condenser pressure Pc. Then whatever the first stage pump we have used, this thermodynamic state at point number 7, we have actually pumped it to intermediate pressure Pi, and then after that we allowed the two streams which are at same pressure Pi to mix inside a feed water heater and to have mass and energy exchange, and then these have actually resulted in thermodynamic state of 1 at the exit of the feed water heater. Now in this feed water heater, what is basically happening, one mass is entering at this point, another is entering at this point, and both are then mixing and exchanging the mass as well as energy, and at the end we are getting nothing but certain thermodynamic state at the exit. So across the boundaries of this control volume, basically both mass as well as the energy transfer is happening. So that's why this type of feed water heater particularly we refer to as open type feed water heater. Okay, now two important things are over here. The first point is that we have extracted certain fraction of the steam. So we have not extracted the entire steam over here. So we have extracted certain portion of the steam over here, and then this steam actually we have used over here to heat this liquid which is coming after the pump. Okay, and another important point we have to remember over here is that earlier what was happening, the expansion of the total mass of steam was happening inside our turbine. When now we have extracted Y fraction over here, then during the expansion from stage number 5 to stage number 4, now we will be having only 1 minus Y fraction of steam within the turbine. So that's why within the condenser and the first stage pump we will be having only 1 minus Y fraction of the steam. Okay, now let us try to plot this whatever we have represented with the help of schematic representation. Let us try to represent it on a TS diagram. Okay, so now if we plot the TS diagram for open feed water heater process, what has happened? So we are having certain, say this is our point number 3 which is representing the exit at the this is the point corresponding to the exit of the boiler or inlet of the turbine. Now say this low pressure line is nothing but corresponding to our condenser pressure, this is our boiler pressure, and over here we are having one more pressure line, say this is our intermediate pressure. Okay, so now what has happened, if you try to see the condensation process, the expansion process has happened from point number 3 to first intermediate state, point number 5, and then it has continued till point number 4 where we are having the condenser pressure. Okay, now if you see over here what has happened, at this point number 5 we have taken out certain amount of steam, say this is nothing but Y fraction of steam. So because of that, if say from 3 to 5 total our steam was 1, So what will be the fraction during the process number 5 to 4? That fraction is now nothing but 1 minus y. Then within the condenser we have allowed this 1 minus y to condense and increased its pressure to intermediate pressure Pi. So over here then what will be happening? This is nothing but our point number 6 at the exit of the condenser, and this we have now pumped to say some intermediate pressure which is nothing but our Pi. So this is our point number 7. After that what we have done, if you see this diagram, now the state at point number 5 and state at point number 7 are mixed inside an heater, and both of these has given us output thermodynamic state of nothing but state number 1. Okay, so it means now 5 and 7 both will be mixing, and these will be resulting in certain thermodynamic state. So over here if you see, the temperature of this point number 7 is less in comparison to temperature of this point number 5. So that's why what will be happening, this whatever the stream we are having at point number 7, that will be heating because of the stream whatever we are having at point number 5. So both will be coming to some common point. Now we control this fraction y over here in such a fashion so that when we are mixing this point number 7 and point number 5, we are getting output state at the exit of open feed water heater as nothing but saturated liquid state at our nothing but intermediate pressure. Okay, now what we will be doing, after that we will be pumping this to the boiler pressure. So now if we pump this one to the boiler pressure, what will be happening, we will be getting this as nothing but our point number 2. Okay, so this type of thermodynamic cycle, particularly where we are allowing the mixing of the two different streams in order to have mass and energy exchange inside a heat exchanger device, that is particularly known as a open feed water heater. Okay, and if you try to see over here, say if we could have not achieved, we could have not used the regeneration process. In that case what would have happened, this pressure could have extended over here and this pumping process would have been done in a single stage till the boiler pressure, and we could have achieved the point number 2 dash at the inlet of the turbine. Okay, so because of that at the inlet of the boiler, so because of that the heat addition process would have been 2 dash to 3, which is now in our actual case including the open feed water regeneration is nothing but happening from point number 2 to point number 3. So now if you see, in both the processes the mean temperature of heat addition is more in comparison in case of the process number 2 to 3. So that's why open feed water heater over here has resulted in increase in efficiency of the overall cycle. Okay, now let us try to find out the net fraction of this y whatever we have to take out of the turbine at the intermediate pressure. Okay, so this fraction of y has to be controlled in such a fashion so that we are getting saturated liquid state after mixing at point number 1. Okay, so what now we can do, we have to apply mass as well as the energy balance corresponding to the feed water heater. So this is nothing but our feed water heater over here. So this is our feed water heater. So if you see in this feed water heater what is happening, let us consider first that what is happening inside the feed water heater. If you compare, nothing but mass is entering at point number 5 plus some mass is entering at point number 7, and both are mixing to give us final mass as nothing but M1. Okay, and over here what I have done, I have defined y as fraction of the mass which we have taken or extracted from the turbine. So this y will be nothing but equal to, say, mass corresponding to point number 5 is m5 and total mass at the inlet of the turbine is nothing but m3. So that's why whatever the fraction we have taken y, that will be nothing but m5 divided by m3. So ultimately I can mention m5 as nothing but y times of m3. Okay, so it means if I write the conservation of mass, what I am getting, as I have told already, that m5 plus m7 equal to m1. This I have got across the open feed water heater, and at the same point of time I have defined the fraction as nothing but mass at point number 5 divided by total mass which is actually coming at the inlet. So what we will be getting from here, we will be finding that m5 is nothing but y times of m3. Okay, similarly if you compare over here, what you will be finding, that mass at point number 4 m4 will be nothing but equal to 1 minus y times of m3. Okay, so similarly I can say that mass at point number 7 is nothing but equal to 1 minus y times of m3. So from where I have got m7, because this mass over here was m4 as 1 minus y into m3, and this m4 is passing through condenser and then through a pump where inside the condenser and the pump there is no interaction of mass. So that's why what will be happening, whatever the mass we are having at point number 4, we will be having same mass at point number 7. So m7 has become nothing but 1 minus y times of m3. So now if I substitute all these values over here, what I will be finding, that y times of m3 plus 1 minus y times of m3 is equal to m1. And if you compare over here, what is happening, this m3 is nothing but coming from the boiler, and inside the boiler there is no addition of mass. Similarly inside the pump there is no addition of mass. So that's why both these quantities will be nothing but equal to m2 equal to m3. Okay, so that's why m3 will be cancelling, and ultimately we will be getting that 1 is equal to 1. So it means left hand side is becoming equal to that of the right hand side, so which is ensuring the conservation of the mass. Now similarly, if we have to write down the conservation of the energy, then what is happening? So if I write the conservation of the energy, so conservation of energy, wherever what I am doing now, I will write conservation of energy across feed water heater. So after I am writing the conservation of energy, because of that what will be happening, m5 mass is entering with enthalpy H5. Similarly m7 mass is entering with enthalpy H7, and both are finally becoming m1 with enthalpy H1. Now m5 already I have come to know it is nothing but y times m3 into H5 plus m7 is nothing but 1 minus y times m3 into H7, and this m1 is nothing but equal to m3, so I can write as m3 into H1. So over here m3 will be cancelling, and finally I will be getting y times of H5 plus H7 minus y times of H7 will be equal to H1. And if I take y common and bring all the enthalpies to the right hand side, I will be finding that y is nothing but equal to H1 minus H7 divided by H5 minus H7. Okay, so this is the fraction y which we have got in terms of which we have got in terms of the enthalpies at specific locations. Okay, so now if you try to compare the TS diagram, so in this TS diagram, because already the intermediate pressure at which the regeneration is being performed will be known, so because of that we will be able to find out this enthalpy of point number 5. At the same point of time, if we are knowing the intermediate pressure, we will be able to know the enthalpy of point number 7. Now, as we have already decided that point number 1 has to be taken at the saturated liquid state only, so that's why what will be happening, if we have these two things are already known, H5 and, so over here H5 and H7, these are already known, and H1 actually we have fixed due to the practical condition for operating the cycle. So because of that, what will be happening, if we substitute the values of all these enthalpy, we will be able to estimate the fraction Y, how much we have to extract from the turbine. Okay, now let me finally tell you about the efficiency of the cycle. So for finding the efficiency of the cycle, what we have to do, we have to determine the turbine work. So now the turbine work, say M3 is the total mass flow rate, whatever is entering into the turbine at the inlet of the turbine. So now we have seen from our TS diagram that this total M3 amount has remained during the expansion from point number 3 to point number 5. So that's why over here it will be m dot 3 into H3 minus H5. And after that, what has happened, during this stage 5 to 4 of expansion, we are having only 1 minus Y fraction of the mass. So that's why we have to write over here M3 into 1 minus Y multiplied by H5 minus H4 as our net turbine work, whatever we are getting. And similarly, if we have to find out the pump work will be nothing but, now we are having two stages of pump, one is from 6 to 7 and second is from 1 to 2. So in the stage number 6 to 7, what we are having, 1 minus Y into M fraction. So I can write 1 minus Y into M3 into H7 minus H6 as work in the first stage, plus, because in the second stage both have mixed and the pumping is done from 2 to 1, so M3 into H2 minus H1. And if we determine the amount of heat transfer, heat added into the boiler, inside the boiler, so that is nothing but M3 into H3 minus H2. So these are our individual turbine work, pump work and heat added quantities. So if we incorporate all these, ultimately we will be able to estimate the efficiency of the open feed water heater based cycle. Okay, so what I will do now, the remaining cycles of closed feed water heater I will take up in the next lecture, and then we will also try to solve some of the numerical problems related to regenerative Rankine cycle.